Hi and welcome to the video. I'm Talia and this is Collection Chats, a series that I've decided to do where I basically just talk about the things I collect, because I collect quite a few different things. So today we're going to look at one of my favourite things in the world, which is my teeny tiny little vinyl collection. I don't have many, I'd say I've got about 25-ish, but we're getting there, I keep building it up. So yes, let's move into it. Now, one thing with vinyl that I've noticed is that it's made a massive comeback. I find that lots of people I know, lots of people around my age, I'm 18, nearly 19, it's become almost a trend again. Like all the trendy shops like Urban Outfitters, they're starting to sell vinyls and things like that, when you used to only be able to buy them in music shops and charity shops. I suppose that's where I get most of my collection. For me personally, I find there's something really nostalgic about records. Even though I wasn't around when they were the main way of listening to music, but I still find some nostalgia in that. I'm also a bit of an old soul. I love vintage things, the fashion, the music, the actual music, not just the ways of listening to music. I just absolutely adore it all. And it's strange to me that now things from like the 90s count as vintage, but they do. But when I say vintage, I mean proper like 60s, 70s, even further back when it comes to the fashion. Vintage is just brilliant. You may have seen my last video, and if you haven't, I will urge you to check it out because it was very fun to make. I did a little vlog where I went shopping for music. Like I said, I love buying secondhand music, so records, CDs. I get most of them from charity shops, secondhand online, things like that. So yeah, I did a little vlog. I went shopping with Mum and I bought some records and some CDs. And I spoke about all the CDs I bought in the video at the end. I also spoke about all bar one record that I bought, and this is the video that I teased saying, oh, stay tuned for the next video, you'll find out what it is. And there's quite a pleasant surprise for me as well when I was just making sure I had everything for this video, which you'll find out soon enough. But yeah, so this is the video that I mentioned in my previous video, and I would urge you to go check out that vlog because it was a lovely fun little day and I'm happy I got to document it. So the last album that I teased, I was doing things like just like that in the corners, that I bought in the last vlog. So I got this record, as you saw in the last video, I went into Rochester High Street, which is near to where I live. I got this in Oxfam, which is my favourite place to get my secondhand music at the moment, is the Oxfam in Rochester. I thought it's this album, Now and Then by the Carpenters. I was very excited because I love the Carpenters. And I was looking on the back thinking, oh, I need to choose which song I'm going to play a little clip of to kind of introduce you guys to the music if you don't know it already. And I was looking and I was thinking, I'm pretty sure it's instrumental, but I'm going to go for Heather, because on side 1 you have 5 tracks, and side 2, I think there's only 2 or 3 tracks, one of them being a big medley. So I was thinking, cool, Now and Then, it's a great album. I open it up thinking, oh, there must be some fun art, and I'm gonna have to move back a bit. Hello, you've got the art. So it's the right sleeve, it has the right songs. This Masquerade, Sing, Heather, where it just says instrumental. And I was having a look because secondhand records, they can get a little bit scratched up, a bit dusty. Sometimes you can sort it out and sometimes you can't. So I was having a look and I was thinking, oh, it's a bit scratched up, but I can work out based off of the rings what each song is, so I can work out which ones will be more scratched up. And then I looked on this lovely yellow bit where it tells you the tracks. I'm not sure if you can see. So that's side 2. Side 1 should have Sing, I've forgotten the tracks. It should have this Masquerade, Heather, Jambalaya on the Bayou, and I Can't Make Music. Side 1 on this record has We've Only Just Begun, Top of the World, Ticket to Ride, Superstar, Rainy Days and Mondays, and Goodbye to Love. It's a different record to the album. So I have an album sleeve for one Carpenter's album, and this is just called The Singles, which is essentially some of their greatest hits. So I'm quite happy because my favourite Carpenter songs aren't on this, but they are on this. So now I need to rearrange what I'll be playing. But yeah, my absolute favourite Carpenter song is Top of the World. So definitely check that out. I'm just going to apologise in case you hear any background noise. Because it's a lovely sunny spring day, it's nice and warm. Everyone around where I live has decided that they're going to sort out, like, do the garden work today. It is on my end. And apologies if you hear anyone talking as well, because I am filming in my home where my dad and my dog are in. So if you hear any thumping up the stairs, that'll be the dog. And any voices outside of my neighbours. It's just things I can't help, so I will just try and film around these annoying sounds. I think we need to set up the record player and have a listen to this very surprise Carpenter's album.
You've been around, your love's put me at the top of the world.
This next album is by one of my all-time favourite bands, and I say that about a lot of bands, but this band is one of my all-time favourite bands. The album is Will of the People, and it is by Muse. I absolutely love Muse. I share a birthday with the lead singer, Matt Bellamy. They're just amazing. Each album they go for a different dystopian concept. Their sound with his voice combined with like the heavy guitars and the drums, and you've got some lovely piano going on a lot of the time. I just love them. I would die to go see them, honestly. But yeah, and this is one of my favourite Muse albums. So I bought Will of the People in a HMV, I think. It's definitely new. I must have bought it in HMV. I'd say a year or so ago, maybe a bit more. And I remember umming and ahhing about this album for ages, and I don't know why, because it must have cost me about £27. I don't know why I was thinking so long about should I get it, should I not, because they're my favourite band. There's no question as to why I shouldn't. But what I love about this is there's a couple features I love about this record. You got the sleeve, and usually the sleeve is just a plain bit of paper, but we've got some more art, and we've got writing that I cannot read on the back, I think of. These are all the lyrics. I'm very short-sighted, so I've got to hold it up really close like that to read it. And my favourite thing about this record, and this wasn't any more expensive than the original record, the normal one. It's a cream vinyl, it looks like white chocolate. It's just amazing. That's side 2 and that's side 1. This is my only different coloured record that I own. All of the others I have are just normal black records, so I love it. It really does look like white chocolate. Look at that and tell me that doesn't look like white chocolate. You can't just bite into it. It looks like a massive milky button. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I love the cover art of this album. It's just so cool. But I also love all of their cover arts, really. All of their albums are outstanding. There's not an album where I think, it's not up to par with the others. They're just all amazing in my opinion. These are all my opinions, so you're allowed to think, oh, Muse aren't that good. But why would you? But yeah, so my favourite song on this album is probably Won't Stand Down, although Will of the People, hence the album title, is also amazing. And You Make Me Feel Like It's Halloween is really, really good as well. But it has to be Won't Stand Down for me. There's it's like your classic Muse sound, and then it goes into a bit more of kind of, not screamo, but you know, heavier metal, where they have like the deeper kind of voice, the almost shouty music as my parents call it, it goes into a bit of that, and it just, it's one of those songs where if you turn it up loud you could feel the music thumping in your chest. I don't know if that makes any sense. It makes sense if you've been to a rock concert. My favourite Muse song ever, I can't choose one. It has to be Hysteria, Uprising, or Time Is Running Out. That is a good song. I used to sing that a lot at Glee Club back in school. I mean, Won't Stand Down has to be one of my favourites of all time as well, not just on this album. So yes, definitely Won't Stand Down. So I think we should give that a little listen. I mentioned that I mainly get my music in second-hand shops or charity shops, and then it's mainly HMV or online. I forgot to mention another way that I get my records is that I nick them off my dad. I don't actually, he usually is like, oh, do you want this one? I don't really listen to it. So this is one that when I was telling my dad about my idea for this video, he was like, oh, I've got a Meatloaf album at work, I keep meaning to bring it home, do you want it? And I was like, yeah, sure. He said the album title and I was thinking, do I know this album? I love Meatloaf, but I do mainly know more of his popular stuff, like Bat Out of Hell. I was thinking, yeah, I'm always open to more records. I've got some records where I don't know loads of the songs off of because they're compilation ones, or they're like best of the 60s or things like that. So I'm not going to know every song, because who does know every single song from every album they like? It's a bit, you know, it's challenging. It's challenging to remember all these things. So Dad brought this home with him for me, so I can mention it in this video. So of course I've got to play a song from it. I don't know if I've got a sepia filter over this or not, but if I do I might have to take it off, otherwise this will just blend in. But this is Meatloaf's Blind Before I Stop. I got it about a month or so ago. Dad gave it to me. It's a really good album. Lots of people were like, I don't know, because I think it was one of his first albums without Jim Steinman helping produce it, so you'd listen to it and think it's not his iconic sound like with, say, Bat Out of Hell. And I do think Meatloaf's stuff with Jim Steinman is his best music. But yeah, I think with Meatloaf, I've grown up listening to him. I grew up listening to like songs like Bat Out of Hell. It's a 9-minute song and I knew all the lyrics by the time I was 10, and For Crying Out Loud was always my favourite Meatloaf song when I was little. So I've grown up listening to him, and I do think Steinman's stuff with him is his best music. I just think in general his discography is pretty good. I love the theatricality of his music. It almost sounds like I'm listening to an opera, and that's high praise because I personally don't enjoy operas, but it just feels like you're almost there at a stage show when in reality all you're doing is just listening to the music in your room, which the fact that his music has the ability to make me feel like that, I think is pretty damn cool. So yeah, I mentioned that For Crying Out Loud used to be my absolute favourite Meatloaf song as a kid. It still is one of my favourite Meatloaf songs for sure. It's the way it builds up and then you have the really long note at the end, and it just like, you can feel your heart going when you listen to it. One of my other favourite Meatloaf tracks has to be Dead Ringer for Love. I am biased, I love Cher. So the fact she's on that track, I have to favourite it. It is easily one of my favourites. The music video is naff, but most of his music videos were quite naff. But yeah, I Would Do Anything for Love, But I Won't Do That is also one of my favourites. But I think one of my favourite ever tracks, I won't call it a song, is Wasted Youth. It's on Bat Out of Hell Part 2, Back Into Hell, and it's before Everything Louder Than Everything Else. And Wasted Youth is a spoken word track. I'm pretty sure Jim Steinman did the vocals, the speaking on it, and it goes perfectly if you listen to that album in order. That going into Everything Louder Than Everything Else, it just flows amazingly. I love spoken word poetry and things like that, and again I feel like I'm almost watching like a theatre production when I listen to that track. It's only like a minute and a half long, but I just absolutely love it, and I can speak along to the whole thing as well, which I think is even sadder when it's not actually a song, when it's just spoken word. But I'm a nerd. And I almost forgot to mention, with this album, Blind Before I Stop, the song Blind Before I Stop is absolutely amazing, but I think I have to say my favourite song on this album has to be Rock and Roll Hero, just because again how it builds. It has a lot more of that sort of iconic Meatloaf theatricality that some of the other songs on this album don't have because of the lack of Steinman producing. I read a fact saying he wanted to wait so he could make more music with Steinman, but he had to, his contract said he needed to make a set amount of albums by the end of the year, so he had to make this and a kind of a compilation album, I think, without Steinman, because I don't know, he must have been busy. He's a brilliant producer. He must have done stuff on other people's albums as well. But yeah, which is a shame because I love this album, but I think it could have been a lot better if Steinman had produced on it. But still, Rock and Roll Hero makes up for some of the tracks being not up to par with some of Meatloaf's bigger hits. But yes, Rock and Roll Hero is brilliant, so let's give that a listen too.
What does it take to be a rock and roll hero? Just like the king, living your life in a blaze of glory, burning it up in a smoke-filled club, giving your soul to the world, like the rock and roll hero.
So moving on, I've just remembered yet another way of how I get my records, but I've only got a couple using this method of sourcing. That sounds really stupid, but we're going to go with it. Another way that I get my records occasionally are record fairs. I mentioned Rochester. I love Rochester High Street. It's beautiful. It's a lovely little historic town, city. I'm not going to get into that whole kerfuffle. Charles Dickens lived and died here. On my birthday, he died 9th of June. Funnily enough, not the year I was born. But yeah, so Rochester, because of its Victorian history with Charles Dickens, and just things like all the stuff you read about Victorian history, like the chimney sweeps and things like that, we had all of that here because it was such a historic town. But every year we would celebrate Sweeps Festival and we would celebrate Dickens Festival. They have stuff up in the castle grounds, like little rides like a carousel, loads of food stalls, which the donuts are amazing, and the cider, and there's like a street parade of loads of people dressed up in all the Victorian get-up. But also at the bottom of the slope, before you go up into the castle grounds, they tend to hold a little record fair, and it's essentially the same as if you were to go into a second-hand shop and buy some music. I bought this album in a record fair during either Sweeps or Dickens Festival. It's one of the first records I actually bought myself. I got it for, I think, £1 a few years ago. I got it with, and you'll hear a lot more about her later, I got like a multi-CD, you know, when it's like multiple CDs in one big block almost, of Julie London, who we'll get onto her later, believe me. I also got this record, like I said, for £1. Sladist. I love it. It's a bit cheating, saying like, oh, my favourite song off this album is this, because it is a compilation of all their greatest hits at the time. But I mean, I just love them. I just love Slade. They are probably my favourite glam rock band. I have a few favourites, but these are probably, you've got all my other favourites and then you have Slade, I think. And what I love about Slade is that, because they were around most famously in the 70s, they were using like slang spellings before it became almost a thing. Like, look what you done is what is spelled W-O-T and done is D-U-N, and things like that. Squeeze me, please me, S-K-W-E-E-Z-E, and things like that. But yeah, I just love how they didn't invent it obviously, but they were one of the first kind of people in like pop culture at the time to start using all this slang, as far as I'm aware. And I just think it's really cool. And then when you have songs like Run Run Away, it's really boring because it's just spelled normally. Like I said, they're my favourite glam rock band, so I have a few favourite Slade songs. I think of all time, one of my favourite Slade songs is Every Day, which is a nice slower one. It's not massively what you would hear and think, oh, that's glam rock, but it's still a beautiful song. In for a Penny is really good as well. That's a bit slower as well, but it's got more of their iconic sound. And I'd say Mama, We're All Crazy Now, which is, I also love it for the title. I have all my notes for this video typed up, and it's just red squiggly lines under half of their titles because of the spellings. And like I said, it is a bit cheaty because lots of the songs off of this album are from different Slade albums. But this is still a record, so my favourite songs off of this record are Mama We're All Crazy Now is on this record, and Gudbuy Tea Jane, which I love it. It's brilliant as well. It's got such like almost a bouncy rhythm. But yeah, I got this for £1. A few of the songs are a bit not just crackly like vinyl crackly, but kind of it jumps because it's scratched. But for £1, can't get much better, can you? So I'm not complaining. So yes, I said Gudbuy Tea Jane is one of my favourites off this album, so we're gonna have a little listen to that.
I say you're so young, you're so young. I say you're so young, you're so young. I say you're so young, you're so young.
So this next artist, again, I love his music, and it's not a band, it's a singular artist. I think that's my first one. Oh wait, no, Meatloaf. Surprisingly, it's taken us it's taken us 4 records to get to a crooner, which is a shock for me because I love all of that sort of music. And as much as I have some Dean Martin, I have some Perry Como, what better crooner to talk about than Mr. Sinatra himself. Although this album cover's disappointing. Where's the hat? He's known for that kind of fedora hat. I've even got one on my wall with it that looks a bit like the ones he used to wear. I love a bit of Frank Sinatra. I love his music. This is Greatest Hits Volume 2. So all the others I've been like, oh, I got this in Oxfam. I got this at a record fair. My dad gave it to me. And I remember. I genuinely have no clue where I got this from. I know it was a charity shop. I could have used some very basic detective skills, I just realised. This little price label at the back that you might be able to see. Those are the ones they use at Oxfam. So I got it in Oxfam, and it was definitely the one in Rochester because it's my favourite. Yeah, I love this album because it's got loads of his greatest hits on it, which it's brilliant. This is when I think of a classic second-hand record, I think of this sort of one. It's in decent condition, and you've just got your regular little paper sleeve that I put in upside down, so that almost fell out. Just your plain little paper, it's yellowing, it's gone all old. It's really not that scratched at all. So the fact I got it in a charity shop and it's basically not scratched is pretty good. Yeah, I love this record. I like to just put on a bit of Frank Sinatra or some of the others like Perry Como or Dean Martin, and sing along and pretend I am like a 50s crooner. Dare to dream. But yeah, I love lots of his songs really build up like an atmosphere as well. It's one where you just put your headphones on, turn it up full and just listen and let the music almost consume you. I love that artists can do that now can do that with their music, and I feel like that more with records because you get the additional like lovely crackly sounds that you don't get with CDs or digital music. I think that's also why I love records so much, is that lovely crackly sound, because it reminds me of when Dad would play his records on the hi-fi in the living room in the mornings, and I come down on a weekend and usually he's got AC/DC or Meatloaf or something playing on the record player. So when thinking about my favourite Frank Sinatra songs, only one really pops into mind of like my favourite. It's not like I have to choose between loads. It's That's Life. I love That's Life. It's brilliant. I also like Strangers in the Night, but That's Life is definitely my favourite Frank Sinatra song. My favourite song off of this album, because I don't know if That's Life is on it. It's not. That's really sad. My favourite song off this album is another classic. It's My Way. It's iconic. Other than maybe New York, it's gotta be his most iconic song in my opinion anyway. I mainly bought this album because it has My Way on it, because I was just like, I really want to know what it sounds like being able to listen to My Way on record as opposed to just on Spotify like I usually do. It's great. It's also got The Shadow of Your Smile on it, which is a lovely song as well. But yeah, My Way is definitely my favourite of this album, so I think that is what we shall have to have a listen to.
I plan each charted course, each careful step along the byway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way.
I think we're halfway through now, so we have 5 records left. Oh yeah, I didn't clarify at the beginning of the video, and I should have. I'm not going through in detail all of my records because I've still got, I'd say, at least 15 over there, especially as I bought a few new ones the other day. So again, check out that vlog because you'll get to see more. But yeah, so I thought 10 is a nice number. You get an extra little treat because you get to hear what it sounds like on a record player. Yeah, I forgot to clarify at the beginning. This next record, I got this quite recently as well. This was definitely Oxfam. Oh, this one was a bit more expensive. It cost me £5 whole. It is Whitesnake's Saints and Sinners. It came with a lovely little plastic sleeve as well, which I love when I get a record in a plastic sleeve. I don't know why, I just don't have to worry about it in the box like fraying or anything like that. I just love the album cover. It reminds me of kind of like the Greek statues. I love all of the Greek statues to the point where I want a Venus de Milo tattoo. But yeah, so it just reminds me of that, but it also looks like porcelain as opposed to like carved marble, which I think is really cool. And it's got a little snake on it, and I love snakes, so this is also, I love it. It's a brilliant album. Whitesnake are one of those bands where I grew up listening to bands like Whitesnake. It was a lot of Whitesnake, AC/DC, Queen, Poison, which I probably shouldn't have been listening to when I was little, but there was a lot of Motley Crue playing when I was growing up, which again, maybe shouldn't have been listening to them, but hey ho, they've not influenced me in any bad way, so I don't think that matters. But yeah, Whitesnake I grew up listening to. I grew up singing Here I Go Again when I was like playing out in the garden all the time, and I do remember my dad explaining the difference because I'm pretty sure Saints and Sinners came out in 1985 and it has the original version of Here I Go Again on it, and Here I Go Again was re-released in 1987 and they kind of Americanized it a bit too much for me. It's a lot more, because rock in the 80s for Americans, it was all quite, what appealed to them the most was that kind of soft rock, like Chicago and Bread and bands like that. So I think lots of British bands, when they were trying to appeal to a wider audience, kind of went down that route, and it's not my favourite kind of rock. I prefer your upbeat, I prefer fast, shouty rock music, really heavy instruments. I'm not a massive fan of all the kind of the soft rock ballads like Bon Jovi's Bed of Roses, for example. It's nice, but I prefer more upbeat stuff. So I definitely prefer the original of Here I Go Again because they made it too theatrical, too rock ballady, but I know lots of people who prefer the re-released version, so it's down to personal taste. But I remember Dad trying to explain the difference to me between this version and the one they released to appeal more to the American version. The main difference is, in this version, he goes, here I go again on my own, like, da, 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 da. Like a hobo I was born to walk alone. But in the American version they changed it to drifter. I'm guessing because they didn't know what a hobo was, but I thought that was more of an American word anyway, because I've not really heard anyone in the UK use that word, but I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if that's because I grew up in the 2000s and not the 80s. I'm not sure. But yeah, that is the main difference with the lyrics. It may be the other way around, I can't remember. But yeah, my Here I Go Again isn't actually my favourite Whitesnake song. My favourite has to be Still of the Night. Again, I love how it builds. I love the vocals on it. Proper kind of hair metal sort of sound. Still of the Night is brilliant. I do always, whenever it comes on in the car, I shriek along to it thinking I am in Whitesnake, which isn't a good idea for my vocal cords, but again, I'll just have a hot honey and lemon later on because I need it after singing along to Still of the Night. But my favourite song off of this album is probably Crying in the Rain. Young Blood's good, all of it's good really. Saints and Sinners is a good album, but Crying in the Rain I love. It's a bit of a longer song, so if you're not into your kind of longer songs, maybe avoid Crying in the Rain and listen to some of the other songs on here. But yeah, it's really good. And avoid Meatloaf then if you're not into your long rock songs. Crying in the Rain is my favourite off of this track. Crying in the Rain is my favourite off of this album. I don't know what's wrong with me today, I can't bloody speak. I'm not going to play Crying in the Rain as much as it is my favourite, because so far I've been playing my favourite songs off of each record that I have, that I'm showing. I've got to go with the iconic one. So I think it's time to listen to some Here I Go Again. Think I've been waffling, think again, because this is the one I've been the most excited to show. You may or may not have heard of a band called BABYMETAL. They're a combination of like a J-pop idol group and heavy metal. But yeah, with like the label and how it's marketed and stuff, they're marketed more as like an idol group, but they're heavy metal. This is probably my favourite BABYMETAL album. It's lovely and thick because it's got 2 LPs. This is Metal Galaxy. Look at that cover art. I'll put a picture up because my light is glaring, but I love them. I'm trying not to swear really badly. I just love things like the fonts on the back. They're just, yeah, I love BABYMETAL because I love the mix of J-pop and heavy metal music. Getting more into heavy metal now, because my metal taste used to be just like Iron Maiden and that sort of stuff, but now I'm getting into like Drowning Pool, Disturbed, Slipknot, you know. But yeah, I love the J-pop and the heavy metal mix. It's something where you'd look at it at face value and go, that shouldn't work, but it does. It really does. I don't know if it's because I've got an eclectic taste in music and I try to be really open about different styles of music, because I listen to so many different styles. So maybe if you just prefer your like one kind of rock music, maybe BABYMETAL wouldn't be for you, but I'm still here to recommend the hell out of them because I adore them. So yeah, I was introduced to BABYMETAL because my dad, what a surprise, dad has influenced me a lot with music. Mum has as well, but my taste in like classic rock comes from dad, like my older stuff. He's the one, he always used to show me like, oh look, I love this music video on like Kerrang! And then I'd be like, oh yeah, that's cool. Oh, I actually quite like this song. And then I'd go and listen to the music. And that was the case with BABYMETAL. He saw, what song was it? Karate by BABYMETAL. He saw that on Kerrang! And pointed it out to me and was like, listen to this is a bit quirky, a bit different. And I was just like, I like this, because at the time I was still in I was kind of transitioning through my music phases, so I've always loved rock, but I hit about 9 years old and was just like One Direction crazy. Steps would be on in the car sometimes, Spice Girls, all the sort of stuff that lots of people like when they're little. But I was kind of I was about 11, 12, moving into my emo phase at that point, where I was like, oh, I just want to listen to angsty music. And Dad was like, here's some Japanese pop heavy metal. Like these cute girls dancing around on the stage in their cool like metal kind of outfits. So that kickstarted my love for BABYMETAL, and I just adore them now. So I got this album in HMV a couple of years ago. I can't remember how much it was, but it was weirdly cheap. So it must have been between £15 and £25. I remember it being strangely cheap. One for a first-hand, a non-second-hand album, but also for the fact it's got 2 records. It's got 4 sides to it, and I was thinking, I've got to go for it. I've got to. It's my favourite BABYMETAL album, and yeah, I also did get it for the cover art. I love all their cover arts. They're brilliant. I've got quite a few favourite BABYMETAL songs, so bear with me here. I love Papaya. It took me a year of listening to that song, fun fact, to realise papaya spells papaya, like the fruit. And some of the lyrics say something like sweet like a papaya or something like that. and it took me a year to realise. I don't know, I listen to songs with strange or different titles all the time, so I didn't really think much of it, and I was like, papaya, the fruit! Yeah, I'm stupid. I also love Doki Doki Morning, Gimme Chocolate, and Metataro? Metataro? How do you say it? But yeah, I just love their vocals are their vocals are very J-pop, and then it's more the backing music that's metal. But a couple of the members do like the scream vocals as well, and it just melds together so well when it shouldn't. So yeah, I really struggle to choose my favourites with their music. My favourites change with BABYMETAL all the time, but one of my favourites is always going to be Papaya. Papaya is off of this album. It's also my favourite song on this album, as well as of all time of BABYMETAL. And also, I like to think I can pronounce Japanese words, but I don't think I can. One of my other favourite songs on here is Kaguru. Sorry if I butchered that. I try. It's really good. It's the rhythm to it is just, again, amazing. It's one of those BABYMETAL ones for me where when I listen to any of their music, again, I can feel their music kind of flowing, like it's almost like it's in my blood. That's how much I listen to them. I didn't realise, I listened to Papaya recently and I was thinking, there's a feature on it. There's a guy with a really deep voice. I'm pretty sure his parts are in Thai. And I was thinking, I recognise this voice. I recognise his kind of rap style and all of that. I was like, who is it? I realised a while ago, a Thai singer called Millie released a song, and I'm a massive Stray Kids fan. They're my favourite K-pop group. She released a song and it featured Changbin from Stray Kids, which is why I listen to the song and I adore it, and also this guy called F.HERO, and I didn't realise that that's him doing some of the scream vocals on Papaya. And it was just, I know none of you care, but it just kind of, it's that little loop of sort of when you make that random association and everyone's like, okay, so, but like I really care about it. I'm like, it's the guy from Mirror Mirror. So yeah, I just got really excited when I realised, even though I knew this song before the Millie song, because that only was released like a couple years ago. One thing I would like to add, the paper sleeve for the records are black as well, and it just adds to the whole vibe of the album so much. And you've got this really cool, again, the glare art in it as well. Not in it, but like there's art inside of it. But yeah, you could probably guess what song we're going to be listening to, because I've not shut up about Papaya, but here's Papaya. Earlier I joked about Meatloaf's titles being really long, and I was struggling to say I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. And of course now I can say it because I'm trying to make a point of it being difficult to say. I'm going to turn into a rapper here. This is one of my all-time favourite albums. I have a few. I can't help it. I just love too many albums. But yes, this is one of my favourite ever albums. I discovered the album as a whole a couple years ago. Before that I obviously knew the odd song because he's quite a famous man. So I need to look at my notes to make sure I get it right. So this is David Bowie's The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. I think I said that properly. Is it from? Yes, I did. I love it. Look at the art. I feel like this is a really iconic album cover, but just look. It's just so good. It's essentially, when you ask me my favourite Bowie songs, I will list quite a few, and most of them are from this album. It's just outstanding. I've loved his music for years now. Unfortunately, I didn't know loads of his stuff pre-2016, before he passed away, and I think it was when I realised how devastated people were that he'd passed away that I was like, I need to listen to more of his music. It's a shame I haven't almost discovered him sooner. I think my parents like Bowie, but it's not one that I probably would have been brought up on, so unfortunately I discovered him a bit later on in my life. I say my life, I'm not even 2 decades old, but I just love this album. I love his Ziggy Stardust era with the fashion and the persona. I love that he just always challenged stereotypes. There's a video I love, and I'll try and find a clip of it, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to put it in. He basically was a part of like a a group of boys with long hair, because the school rules was they had to have it cut. It was only allowed to be so long, otherwise they would have had it longer. And it was almost like they were protesting about it, because they were thinking, well, boys should be allowed longer hair too.
They're tired of persecution, they're tired of taunts, they're tired of losing their jobs, they're tired of being sent home from college, they're tired of being sent home from school. So with the nucleus of some of his friends, a 17-year-old, Davy Jones, has just founded the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Long-Haired Men. Long-haired men, you've got to have your hair, 9 inches long before you can join?
Well, I think we're past that over now.
Have you?
Yes.
Now, exactly who's being cruel to you?
Well, I think we're all fairly tolerant, but for the last 2 years we've had comments like darling and can I carry a handbag thrown at us. And I think it's just had to stop now.
But does this surprise you that you get this kind of comment? Because after all, you have got really rather long hair, haven't you?
We have, yes. Yeah, it's not too bad, really. No, I like it, and I think we all like long hair. And we don't see why other people should persecute us because of this.
And I just loved it that from a younger age, he was like subverting stereotypes. He did not care about what people thought about him. The fashion. I mean, he's got a song called Fashion. Oh, amazing. Ziggy Stardust is like my favourite persona of his for sure. But yeah, I got this album in HMV about a year ago now, it must have been. It was one, I bought it very much on a whim. Usually I'll be going through all of their records for ages thinking, do I want to get it? Is it worth it? This one I just went, oh, Ziggy Stardust, went to the till. Some of my impulse buys are worth it. Some of them aren't. Definitely not, but this was one that was worth it, worth being an impulse buy. So yeah, my favourite Bowie songs off of this album and of all time, it's got to be Moonish Daydream, Ziggy Stardust obviously, Suffragette City, and my favourite one off of this album of all time is a lovely slow sad one called Rock and Roll Suicide. It's amazing. It's nice and slow and soft. And then there's one bit where he basically almost shouts, oh no love, you're not alone, and that verse is just, it hits you hard. I love it. But yeah, so those are my favourite songs off this album, and those are also my favourite Bowie songs of all time. I also have to add Heroes and Scary Monsters and Super Creeps. I love it. It's my favourite song to play at Halloween. I love the classics like Ghostbusters and Monster Mash, but Scary Monsters and Super Creeps, adore it. And Heroes is another one where you just need to put your headphones on or turn the music up full, turn the lights off, and just sort of like just sit there and listen to it and let the music just like wash over you. It's such an experience listening to Bowie's songs, and that's why I love his music so much. That's why I love this album so much. As much as, say, for Whitesnake, I didn't play my favourite song off of Saints and Sinners, I went for Here I Go Again, the most famous. I was gonna do either Suffragette City or Starman's on here, but I have to go for my absolute favourite, so I don't want to put too much of a damper on this, but I'm going to play a part of Rock and Roll Suicide because that song is just beautiful to me. I adore it. So I think we should go and give that a listen.
You're not alone. Just turn on with me, and you're not alone. Let's turn on with me, not alone. Give me your hands, 'cause you're wonderful. Give me your hands, 'cause you're wonderful. Oh, give me your
We're on our penultimate album. This is so sad. I wish I could just sit here for hours and hours and talk to you about literally every record I own, but I can't, unfortunately, because I probably don't have enough storage to record all of that. These last two albums heavily contrast each other. I tried to go for quite a range of different like styles of music for this video, but these two contradict each other so much. It's quite funny knowing that I'm into both of these styles of music. Our penultimate album, we can blame my father once again for my obsession of this band, because it's his fault. 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, My Chemical Romance, Like I said earlier, I had an emo phase. I'm still in it, I just don't dress it. But it's not just about the fashion. I think I saw a post saying the difference between goth, emo and punk. Goth, I'm pretty sure in general there are loads of different types of goth, like you've got romantic goth, new, all of that. Gothic ideology is the world is awful but there's beauty in that. Emo is the world is awful and that makes me sad and I need to vent it out, and that's what this is. And then punk is more the world is awful and I'm gonna bloody well do something about it. But this is like the pinnacle of my emo phase, which isn't really a phase. It's going to stick with me for the rest of my life. It's my favourite My Chemical Romance album. Look at the cover art. Gerard Way, the lead singer, designed this himself. It's called Demolition Lovers 2. I love it. I just love it so much. I would get a tattoo of this album cover. I'd also get a tattoo of the skeleton on the Black Parade album cover, and that is actually on my list. I want to get it all up my calf at the back. But yeah, maybe one day I can do a video about my tattoos, but so far I've only got one. But I'm getting another one in like 2 weeks, so... But yeah, oh, I just love it. So like I said, my dad introduced me to My Chemical Romance by showing me the music video to Welcome to the Black Parade, which is the first My Chemical Romance song I'd ever heard, and it just went on from there, honestly. But I remember I must have been like 12, 13 at the time. I'd say about 12. I remember he wouldn't let us watch the beginning of the music video for Welcome to the Black Parade because at the beginning there's a man in a hospital bed dying. The first song is the end. It starts with someone dying. It goes in, it's a whole story about like him going through what happens after death for him. But yeah, he wouldn't let us watch the beginning because he was worried that the man dying would scare my little brother, who at the time was only about like, he would have been about 9. So he was worried, so he was like, watch this music video, it's amazing, but don't watch the beginning. I remember exactly when I bought this album. I bought this in HMV around, it was just over 2 years ago now because we're in April. I was in level 2 in college, and for Christmas my tutor took us all to see whatever the new Spider-Man was at the time, and afterwards we all split off into like our friend groups and went around the shopping centre, just went having a look. Last minute buying Christmas presents for some, and I got this. I love it. I remember it being really cheap for a new vinyl. It was £16, and I remember thinking, oh my god, that's a bargain. I come home, tell my parents, and they're like, £16? Is that how much records are nowadays? And I'm like, that's cheap. But yeah, so I got this quite cheaply. I don't know why it was cheaper than the others. But I'm not complaining. I would have loved even more money off of it. I can't believe £16 is cheap for a record nowadays. It baffles me, honestly. I said I love the artwork, and it's partly my favourite album because of the artwork, but it's also the music. The story of this album as well is outstanding. It's their second album, but their first album they like produced it themselves. They weren't with a label. This is their first one with a label, and you could see the difference. And the first album is amazing, but just the progression and stuff that they made to create this masterpiece is outstanding. I love every single song on this album. There's genuinely not a subpar song, not a meh song on this album. My favourite My Chemical Romance songs overall might take a while. All the Angels, The World Is Ugly, Destroyer, Mama, and what's the one I'm listening to all the time at the moment? Kill All Your Friends. I want this sounds awful. I don't know if I'm gonna keep this in. I want One Last Moment. One last moment for my friends to go, oh, for God's sake, what has she done? When I die at my funeral, I want Kill All Your Friends to be played as they take my coffin out, or as it goes into like the fire, if I had to be cremated or whatever. Because some of the lyrics go, the chorus goes, and we all want to party when the funeral ends. We all get together when we bury a friend. And I just think it'd be really funny to have that as they carry my coffin out and like either take it to the grave or I go into burn. I've got quite a bad sense of humour, and some of it is like that, so I apologise. But I would just love that one last moment where my friends go, oh, for God's sake. If not, I would definitely have a My Chemical Romance song played at my funeral, but maybe not one as inappropriate for a funeral as Kill All Your Friends. But yeah, Kill All Your Friends is one of my favourite of all time ever. That's not correct at all grammatically. Songs, not just My Chemical Romance, just ever. And my favourite songs off of this album, it's got to be Helena, Give 'Em Hell Kid, and loved The Ghost of You. That music video is heartbreaking, so watch it if you feel sad and you want to cry. But yeah, it's an outstanding album. I listen to it all the time, especially when I'm having one of my like angsty teen moments where I'm just like, no one likes me, I don't like this world, I just want to sleep all the time. I'll just put on that album and just be like meh to it. I love it. We love an angsty teen moment. Sometimes you need to get the emotions out, and I think music is a really healthy way of doing that. But yes, I love this album. It's one of my favourite ever albums. It's one of my favourite ever possessions. So I think we need to have an angsty teen moment. So we have reached the last album that I'm going to talk about today, which I'm really sad. I wish I could talk about all of my albums, but I'm going to do a little honourable mentions at the end of some more, and some CDs that I have that are just like also my favourites that I can talk about today. I have such an emotional attachment to this album, not just the music but this physical album. This is Julie Is Her Name by Julie London. YouTube algorithm, she's not naked, she has a top on, but they used it as like a marketing thing because they knew that loads of people would be drawn to her appearances for her album covers. I don't know how I got into her music, I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea. Maybe I heard a bit of a song from TikTok, because lots of like slow songs from the 50s have like almost become trendy again to play in the background of like TikToks of people making art and things like that. Maybe I just heard it on the radio or in an advert on TV, I really don't know, but I'm obsessed with her music. She's got such a lovely soft voice, it's a bit deeper, it's quite sultry, and I don't sing Julie London at karaoke because a bit too slow for karaoke. I love upbeat songs at karaoke, but she's just one of my favourite artists to sing because of her like slower, more sultry, deep voice. I can manage it without killing my vocal cords. So I got this album for Christmas last year, not like a few months ago but the year before that, because I'd been looking online on like Amazon and stuff, and secondhand places online, and I just could not find this album, but I thought I'll chance it and put it on my Christmas list and see. And Dad managed to get me this album. He managed to find like one on eBay from someone in America, and I think that's partly why it's one of my most emotionally like valuable possessions. I don't know how much it actually costs, how much it's worth. It could be a fair amount because it was quite hard to find, or it could be literally nothing, but I really don't care because this is so important to me. So I was like, I've got to talk about this one for sure. Even if I talk about no other album, I have to talk about Julie Is Her Name. I'm pretty sure it's her first album, and it's got all of my favourite Julie London songs on here. But yeah, I mean, there's a tiny bit of damage to it, but I really don't care. This sleeve is quite broken though. I just love it. It's got no scratches. For such an old second-hand album, it has no scratches. It's flawless audio to the point where I used it in my final project for college last year. But yeah, my favourite Julie London songs off this album are I'm in the Mood for Love, which is the song I used in my project last year, Laura, I Should Care, and Cry Me a River. There's also another song not on this album called Blue Moon that I love as well. I've really struggled deciding what song off of this album I should play to you guys, because I genuinely think that it's one of the best albums to be ever made, in my opinion. But I thought I'd go for the most famous song. So to wrap up this lovely collection chat, I'm gonna play Cry Me a River for you guys because I love it. So please check her out, check her music out. I've never been more enthusiastic about getting people to listen to an artist. But yes, here's Cry Me a River.
Now you say you're sorry for being so untrue. Well, you can cry me a river, cry me a river. I cried a river over you.
Unfortunately, that was my last album, which means this video is coming to an end, which is very sad because I've really enjoyed talking to you guys about my records. And maybe I could do a part 2 one day of more, because I keep buying more. Right, so before I go, I did mention this a bit earlier. I just want to do a quick little honourable mentions list of some of the other records I have that I didn't get through in this video, and also some of my favourite CDs that I have, because I have a lot of CDs. You might see that in like the little intro bit. I have a lot of CDs. That could easily be like a 2-hour video, me talking about my CDs, even if I just go, this is this one, this is this one. Still take a while. I have my little list. So, vinyl wise, one that I love is I have Fantasia, you know, like the Disney film Fantasia, all the music pieces composed for it. I'm getting more into classical music, and I think film scores are a good way to start, because what got me into classical music is lots of the old Disney film scores, but also Studio Ghibli. Merry-Go-Round of Life by Joe Hisaishi, composed for Howl's Moving Castle. I would recommend that. I don't have him on CD or vinyl, which is really sad, so he's on my birthday list, I think. But yeah, so if you want to get into classical music, you could just jump in with whatever, but I sit more at film scores at the moment, and Fantasia is outstanding and it sounds amazing on vinyl. And another record that I have that I wish I could have spoken about more in this video, it could be a whole video in its own about this record, it's Jeff Wayne's musical version of The War of the Worlds. I love The War of the Worlds. I'm yet to read the book, but I've listened to the original 1930s radio drama that Orson Welles produced live. Oh, it's outstanding. But War of the Worlds, the musical version, Jeff Wayne's musical version, is outstanding. The reason why I didn't talk about it more in this video is because I don't know what I would have been able to play, what I would have been able to choose. I suppose everyone knows the really iconic bit. I'm gonna put a clip of that in now so you don't have to hear me do that. It's one of my favourite records as well because of all the art. There's a whole booklet of art. I'd urge you to go and listen to the musical version of War of the Worlds if you haven't already. And I would urge you to find the original 1930s radio drama that they made live. But no, another vinyl that I have is Dookie by Green Day. I love Green Day. I was going to see them, but then the pandemic happened. It was going to be them, Fall Out Boy and Weezer, and I also love those bands. So it's a real shame that I couldn't get to see Green Day. But yeah, Dookie on vinyl specifically is amazing. I adore it so much. So yes, I definitely recommend listening to Dookie as well. Great album. Love the cover art. It's brilliant. So moving on to some CDs. I will be brief. I'll start off with MTV Rocks. It's a 3-disc compilation CD of all of your iconic pop punk, emo, sort of noughties tracks. There's obviously Green Day on there, Yellow Card. I can't think of any others, and there are literally 3 CDs. Fall Out Boy, obviously, or just your iconic emo alternative pop punk tracks. I've played it to death. I'm surprised it still works in the CD player. I'm surprised I've not scratched it yet. So I definitely recommend listening to that, just if you want to get into that kind of music. It's a good start for that. We also have a band that I've recently become quite obsessed with. It's Room on the Third Floor by McFly. I got this in a charity shop. I love it. I love McFly. I love all of their music. 5 Colours in Her Hair, obviously, Stargirl, and more recently God of Rock and Roll and Where Did All the Guitars Go. That's my favourite, Where Did All the Guitars Go. But definitely go listen to McFly. Room on the Third Floor is an amazing album. Lastly, also in my face, I have quite a few 21 Pilots CDs. I think I've got 3. I don't really listen to them as much anymore, but Blurry Face and Vessel are 2 of my favourite albums. I've got both on CD. I love it. I was a massive emo, still am, and again, I played these CDs to death. 21 Pilots, I'd recommend The Judge, Goner, We Don't Believe What's on TV, and for Vessel, my favourite song is definitely Truce. So definitely listen to those. But The Judge, I don't know why, that's the one that makes me cry the most. Not Goner, not Truce, which is heartbreaking, but The Judge for some reason makes me really cry, and We Don't Believe What's on TV. I think it just reminds me of my emo days when I was just that little angsty teenager who'd only listened to 21 Pilots and My Chemical Romance. So yeah, those are some of my recommendations. If you want any more recommendations, then go check out my last video, because I bought more CDs of all albums that I like. Right, so it's end screen time. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this first instalment of what hopefully will become a series. So I would love for you guys to let me know what records you think I should buy. Any music suggestions, artists, album suggestions. So please comment those down below, and even if you don't think I'd enjoy it, just music you want to recommend to people, see if we can get a little chat going on down there. I would love it so much if you liked this video, and subscribe if you enjoyed, because I will hopefully be actually uploading stuff onto this channel in my free time. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. I hope maybe you've discovered some new music from this video. So go and check out my last video where I did a little music shopping vlog. Yeah, thank you so much, and I will see you hopefully in the next video. Bye.